والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
Welcome to the News at 10 with me, Fatma Tassise. Look at our top stories now. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, receives a rousing welcome in the North Bank region as he begins a 17-day tour across the country. The Ministry of Health receives 20 ambulances meant to enhance healthcare service delivery across the country. The Independent Electoral Commission registers 18 political parties with 4 others undergoing registration process. In sports, turning the tide on decades of apartheid history, South Africa's first black diving coach trains youth in a snorkeling lesson reserved for wealthy whites. Elsewhere, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken tries to beat back criticism over the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan at a contentious congressional debate. Of these plus many more stories coming ahead. Do stay with us. News at 10 with me, Fatma Tassise. We begin this edition with the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, because he's begun his 17-day constitutionally mandated dialogue with the people tour. The tour will accord the President the opportunity to assess the impact of government's policies and programs on the lives of the people. The Gambian leader received an overwhelming reception at BARROW before presiding over his meeting in Essau. Our Presidential Affairs correspondent Mamadou Jallo is accompanying the President delegation and the files in this report.
That would take him to all regions to dialogue with the people. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, leaving the State House, accompanied by an entourage of ministers and officials. Outside the Presidential Palace, Banjulians and supporters came out in numbers to accord the president a fitting send-off, accompanying him all along to the Banjul ferry terminal, where an equally noisy crowd kept a lively atmosphere. The president then crossed the Atlantic to Barra, confident that the tour will be fruitful and successful.
This is a very important tour. It's a constitutional requirement for the president to go around the country at least once a year to go and dialogue with the people, to discuss with the people, to listen to them and know what is their problems. We see how best we can help them, because they are our partners, they are electors, they are citizens of this country, so they are part of the country. That's why it is very important for us to dialogue with them. Because of that, last year our dialogue, they wanted ambulances, they wanted tractors, they wanted milling machines. That's why today we are fulfilling that. So it is very important to dialogue. So the main objective is dialogue with the people. It's a constitutional requirement.
President Barrow was received by the governor of the North Bank region, Lamin Sedikan, and other regional officials as he walked through the Barrow ferry terminal to greet the assembled religious leaders, who offered prayers for a peaceful and successful completion of the tour. As his motorcade left the terminal, it was virtually brought to a halt as thousands of people kept an electrifying atmosphere. The president savored the moment, waving to the crowds, a sign that Barrow has decided. This would continue all along this coastal town, with residents escorting his motorcade as it drove to its first stop on the itinerary. The president made a brief stop at the Hakalang Road, which is currently under construction. The 88-kilometer road is one of the most important projects undertaken by this administration, which continues to defy expectations by solving what is arguably the most pressing need of these communities. With the meeting still on the cards, President Barrow and entourage finally arrived in Munyagen for the first meeting of the tour. He visited the local health center currently under construction by the community and commended the initiative, reassuring the elders that government will support this ambitious project. He then made his way to the meeting grounds, escorted by jubilant youths on horseback and foot, a rare honor reserved for important visitors. After the excitement had subsided, the meeting commenced with speakers taking turns to welcome the president to Jokadu and reassure him of their support and vote in the upcoming elections. The speakers commended the president's track record in the last 4 years, using this as proof that he deserves another mandate to enable him bring more development projects to rural communities. They, however, called for increased interventions in the areas of agriculture, energy and education, pinning their hopes on President Barrow's proven track record in these areas. The leader of the APRC, Fabakary Tombong Jatta, cautioned that the Gambia is one big family and should not be divided along tribal or regional lines, warning that this could cause division and conflict. He called on all APRC supporters to rally behind the MPP and strive for victory in December. The meeting climaxed with the president's address, thanking the people of Jokadu for what he called an impressive reception. He reiterated his government's commitment to national development, announcing the presentation of ambulances and tractors to several settlements within Jokadu. He also called on supporters to be peaceful and law-abiding at all times, expressing optimism that the NPP-led coalition will emerge victorious in December. Momodu Jallo, GRTS News.
Let's stay with the president's engagements because the Gambian leader presided over a meeting in the North Bank settlement of Munyagen. Well, our correspondent in the area is Famara Kanyi. He's been keeping an eye on that, and that brings us up to date.
A short distance that takes about 10 minutes work is taking President Barrow and his entourage hours to complete. As the jubilant crowd chants his name, he waves back with a smile. It's day one of Meet the People's Tour, a constitutional mandate for the presidency. And for the next 17 days ahead, President Barrow will be visiting strategic intervention sites and development projects across the length and breadth of the country. The Hakalang Road, one of his achievements that will ring down in the annals of history, is slowly progressing. A new facelift with prospects of socio-economic advancement in the Opanyomi district. Darkness of the night has not hindered them from waiting and welcoming the head of state in their community. The welcoming in Munyagen was a show of force by the community in a declaration of their total loyalty to the present government. Among his achievements in the North Bank is the extension of electricity in almost every part of the region. The Hakalang Road construction project, coupled with unprecedented supports to the agriculture and health sectors. For the news, I am Famara Kani.
Still on President Barrow's dialogue with the People's Tour, the Gambian leader kick-started activities marking this engagement with the handing over of 20 ambulances to the Ministry of Health to strengthen healthcare service delivery across the country. Well, the new ambulances are part of community ambulance service being introduced by the government of the Gambia to improve access to healthcare service delivery, and mainly in remote parts of the country. Mamadou Jallo again.
This is the first batch of 20 ambulances procured by government for onward distribution to communities across the country. They are part of an ambitious initiative earlier promised by the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, to bring ambulance services to the doorstep of ordinary Gambians. The President arrived at the I-22 for the formal handing over of the keys to these new vehicles to the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Samate. The President described the initiative as an important milestone for the country's drive to enhance universal access to healthcare services.
For the first time in the history of this country, because we see the need to support the community. And mostly, traditionally, ambulances are stationed at the health centers. They are not within the community. So we said now, we should have community ambulances so that the community, the ambulances will be within the community so that they can have access and quick reaction also to save the life of the people. And with the barrows of country, we said we have to look for ambulances that are strong, that can adapt to our barrows here. That's why we have these land cruisers, these ambulances. The main purpose is for that. It was a promise that we gave, and we kept our promise. So today, this is a history as far as our health sector.
President Barrow also thanked all the stakeholders for making the process successful, adding that the health sector remains a priority area of his government. These 20 ambulances are the first of 80 vehicles promised by the administration and will be stationed in the communities where they will be available for timely emergency response and evacuation of patients to health facilities. Mamadou Jallo, GRTS News.
Over now to this press release from the University of the Gambia, which states the attention of the administration of the University of the Gambia has been drawn to the announcement of a sit-down strike by the University of the Gambia staff and the Faculty Association, UTG-SFA. Following this, the release adds, the university filed an application before the High Court challenging the legality of the sit-down strike. The university further made an application for an interim injunction against any sit-down strike or industrial action by the UTG-SFA pending the hearing of its main application. Accordingly, the release adds, the High Court is sitting in Bundung has today made the following orders. An order of interim injunction restraining the UTG-SFA, its executives, officers, members, agents, servants, employers, or whosoever from embarking on the industrial strike action scheduled to take place on the 15th of September 2021 in relation to the resolution passed by the UTG-SFA at its Congress held on the 18th of September 2021 pending the hearing and determination of the originating summons or further orders of the High Court. In addition, an interim injunction directed at all the members of the Executive Committee of the UTG-SFA to immediately and publicly call off their planned strike or industrial action scheduled to take place on the 15th of September 2021, pending the hearing and determination of the matter. And also an interim injunction that the President and Executive Committee of the UTG-SFA be restrained from organizing or holding any form of picketing or industrial strike action pending the hearing and determination of this matter. The release also adds that the UTG-SFA are hereby notified of this court order and are urged to comply with the orders. Failure to do so, the release went on, shall amount to contempt of court, and staff, the release continued, are therefore advised to report to work as normal in line with the court order and cancel resolution. Students are also urged to go about their normal activities. The release ends. Next, the Independent Electoral Commission has revealed that the final voter list stands at 962,157. At a press conference convened by the IEC, the Chief Electoral Officer of the Independent Electoral Commission, Sambojang Jai, said 18 political parties have been registered with 4 others undergoing political registration process. Jai also stated that polling stations have increased to 1,544. Here we have more in this excerpt.
I wish to inform you today that the final number of registered voters for the Gambia today stands at 962,157 voters. 962,157 voters. Of this, 43.3% are male voters and 56.7% are female voters. This number gives us a total number of polling stations from 1,422 in 2016 to today 1,554 polling stations. So that being the case, since there is no objection, no appeal, and the registration was concluded, and now we have the total number of voters, our regional offices have been instructed to get to the appointed revising magistrate in their regions to sign the provisional voters register that will become the voter register of the Gambia. And that being the case, the IEC has officially declared the voter registration 2021 closed. The total number of registered political parties as at today, the 14th of September 2021, stands at 18 registered political parties. 18 registered political parties. We also have 4 applications in the process to be registered as political parties. And we also note from you as our partner, the media, the independent aspirant who has appeared in your media houses for interviews or commentary and visits in our offices to express their intention. Altogether put, we have in our record 12 independent aspirants for the presidential election. Following the closure of the voter registration 2021, the IEC has activated the presidential election 2021, even though the IEC has already published the electoral calendar in July 2020. The IEC went further to produce and publish the election notice, which bears certain dates of the election, and also put in the Gazette the presidential election 2021 to formalize it.
Chief Electoral Officer there, the Independent Electoral Commission, Sambojang Jai. Next, ECOWAS member states on Tuesday launched the 2018-2019 West African Epidemiology Network on Drug Use report. The document outlines statistics and trends on illicit drug use and supply, and participants from 15 member states and Mauritania took part in the virtual meeting discussing critical findings of the report. Usman Mane picks up the rest of the story.
West African Epidemiology Network on Drug Use Wendu Report 2018-2019 is the second regional report on illicit drug trafficking and the extent of drug use in West Africa. The advocacy launch held virtually reported statistics and trends on illicit drug use and supply in the 15 ECOWAS member states and Mauritania. The report points to a number of barriers related to human resources, infrastructure, information and service provision, perception of services, help-seeking behavior, inadequate means of funding, as well as governance-related issues impeding the performance of mental health care system in ECOWAS member states.
A significant finding of this report is that drug supply suppression efforts for drug control are more prominent in West Africa, while availability and access to treatment services for SUDs remains inadequate. The Wendu report also highlights the importance of age-appropriate, gender-sensitive drug use prevention and treatment policies in member states.
In her welcome remark, the Commissioner, Social Affairs and Gender, ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Siga Fatima Jane, said despite the barriers of access to quality treatment for substance use disorders, the ECOWAS Commission is providing support to targeted treatment centers as part of the advocacy to improve access to prevention, treatment and recovery options for individuals with substance use disorders in the region. She said the change in approach from arrest of individuals with SUDs for drug-related charges to treatments is attributed to heightened inclusive community-based efforts, sensitization, awareness and advocacy programs on human rights-based approach programming. Cannabis continues to account for the largest quantity of drug seizure in the region, with a total of 1,080 tons during 2018 and 2019. Professor Stanley Okolo, Director General, West African Health Organization, noted that illicit drug use, sales and supply constitute a major public health problem, leading to severe socio-economic consequences.
Drug dependence, mental health issues, suicide rates, and gratuitous violence, which is often associated with security incidents, are now widespread in our region and are traceable to this illicit drug use. The drug habits feeds off the high rates of trafficking of illegal and illicit drugs and trafficking of fake and falsified medicinal products.
Accurate and credible data helps in mitigating public health emergencies, and its importance is crucial in fighting drug trafficking and abuse. Mohammed Buba Mawa, Chairman and CEO, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Nigeria, assert their commitment to fight against drug use and drug supply, as well as trafficking in substandard, falsified, and counterfeit medical products in the sub-region. This, he said, can only be achieved through evidence-based and credible data from national stakeholders. In his keynote address at the launch, Francis Kofi Tokono, Director General, Narcotic Control Commission, Ghana, hailed the efforts of Wendu in providing credible information on drug use to adequately inform decision-making, as well as mapping ways to address its impact on societies. He said the report will be used as advocacy tool for awareness creation on dangers of drug use and illicit substances in the sub-region. Polydrug use among adolescents and young adults in treatment reflects the use of multiple substances such as speedball and other varying combination pattern of alcohol, cannabis, cocaine, heroin, pharmaceuticals, and synthetic opioid. And the common drug administration among people in treatment is inhalation, and this accounts for 3/4 of reported methods in 2018 and 19. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Next, the Gambia Armed Forces Defense Headquarters in Banjul received books from a Pakistani philanthropist and CEO of Superior Group. The academic materials are meant to boost the Army's professional capacity and enhance their understanding of military technology. We have more in this report by Khadija Tujwara.
The Gambia Armed Forces Defense Headquarters in Banjul receives a presentation of books from Pakistani philanthropist and CEO of Superior Group, who delivered the academic material to boost the Army's professional capacity and enhance understanding of military technology. Professor Muhammad Atif Al-Husseini, the Chief Executive of Superior Group and Chairman of the Pakistani Community of West Africa, said the books will adequately support understanding of technology, designing and management in the armed forces.
As we believe our institute doing very well job under the dynamic leadership of Chief of Defence Staff, Deputy Chief of Defence Staff. So I try my level best to arrange this gift for my big brother, for my supreme institution, to educate my soldier brothers, so they learn modern things according to new technology, and I also believe they are also very well educated. This is just an additional thing.
Professor Atif Al-Husseini promised his continuous support and collaboration to promote the Gambia Armed Forces in the best interest of national development. In a similar engagement, the Jaite Kunda Family Associates in Brikama also presented a certificate of appreciation to the Gambia Armed Forces, acknowledging their efforts in national development. Speaking at the Gambia Armed Forces headquarters in Banjul, the chief executive of Jaite Kunda Associates, Lamin Jaite, said the certificate is a way of thanking and recognizing the Army's development efforts and relentless sacrifice at all times.
It's a pleasure of coming here to just to give these two certificates of appreciation. One is going to be given to Malik Sanyang, the Deputy PRO, and his team of Gambia Armed Forces, and another one is just going to be given to the Gambia Armed Forces. My comment here is just to present or to represent Jatakunda Family and Associates of Brikama and Tuakura respectively.
The CDS of the Gambia Armed Forces, YAKUBA DRAMMEH, thank both the Pakistani philanthropists and Jaite Kunda Family Associates for their support.
Today, we witness another important occasion. You came wholeheartedly to give us these magnificent collections of books in different fields, which is geared towards perhaps enhancing the academic and professional competence of members of the armed forces. To Mr. Jaite, equally we want to thank you for acknowledging and appreciating the exceptional efforts on the side of the Public Relations Department.
CDS DRAMMEH further advised Gambia Armed Forces to continue doing their best in their service to the nation. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuara.
We are staying with military matters because the Chief of Defence Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, YAKUBA DRAMMEH, has described as regrettable the shooting of a soldier, Corporal Barrow, of the Gambia Armed Forces in 2019. Well, Barrow was shot by one of his colleagues whilst on duty in Farafenye, and according to CDS DRAMMEH, the soldier was quickly taken to the hospital when he was shot, and plans are well underway for overseas treatment and in the pipeline. We have more in this excerpt.
So recent, I've heard and I've seen on newspapers in regards to one of our soldiers. That's Corporal Barrow, who accidentally was shot at by one of his colleagues while performing a very exceptional duties in Farafenye. It was quite regrettable. And we align ourselves with the family. Because as an institution, we care for our soldiers and officers. Look, when he was shot, as an institution, what we did, we quickly arranged to get him evacuated to the Banjul, to the RVTH. That's Edward Francis Teaching Hospital. And of course, all the procedures that were required in the context of surgery was done on him. That was the first step we took. We did not stop there because we sensed the soldiers still would need some further treatment overseas. As an institution, we use our chief medical doctor, if I may use the word, to make the necessary follow-ups. And of course, he did what he was supposed to do. And constantly, he kept command informed of the actions that is being taken. Then, of course, there was a medical board set to look into the situation, comprising of 3 doctors. At the conclusion of their findings, they came up with the recommendations. The records are there at the Ministry of Health. Because he's already shortlisted to undergo further treatment in India. Quote me, I said it. He's supposed to go to India for further treatment. However, during the process, you may recall recently, India is badly affected because of the COVID and pandemic. Looking at the circumstances in India, it is going to be inappropriate or rather unwise to send a soldier to India at this given time, because it's going to be like putting from the frying pan into the fire. When India is gripped with anxiety and fears because of this pandemic. But in a nutshell, what I can say with certainty, the soldier was not neglected. Of recent, I've heard
Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, DRAMMEH, there. The Gambia Red Cross Society, through Ibu Malik Children Charitable Foundation on Tuesday, received medical items from UK National Police Aid Charity worth over £550. And the materials include hospital beds and mattresses, chairs, hospital aids, wheelchairs, walking sticks, among others. BARROW brings us up to date.
Memorandum of Understanding between the Gambia Red Cross Society and Ibu Malik Children Charitable Foundation seeks to render service to the communities through sustainable change to impact the lives of the vulnerable children and families. The gesture is the latest humanitarian services to the community, according to the organizers. The chairperson and founder of Ibu Malik Children Charitable Foundation, Fatuba, recalled in 2019 when her organization began working with GRCS, donating valuable items to the needy people.
We've partnered with them to complement the government efforts. So this container that we have sent to them today contains medical equipment, and these are for onward distribution to hospitals that have been identified in best needs. So I hope the identified beneficiaries will benefit from the items, and it will contribute to the delivery of healthcare service in the Gambia.
Representing UK National Police Aid Charity, NPAC, a volunteer, Dennis Nyamanindi, hailed the collaborative efforts between the Gambia Red Cross Society and the Charitable Foundation, and call on other organizations to emulate the gesture.
This is like a big motivator to us whenever people are suffering, and we can do something about it, and I think that it is our responsible as One World to be able to sponsor, to donate wherever we can, and this is what motivated us to put a container like this and send it here to the Gambia. Especially going out to the provinces, personally I saw firsthand what those materials help to do. We took a lot of pictures, and I think that would be a bigger motivator right now for myself and other volunteers and our ladies in the UK to actually do more, to provide more, because we feel that there is more that needs to be done.
The Director of Programs and Operations at the Gambia Red Cross Society, Abdullah Fai, thanked EMCCF and NPAC for the gesture and urged them to continue the good. Mr. Fai assured that they will be working closely with the Ministry of Health in order to distribute the medical items to the beneficial hospitals across the country.
There is a need for a healthy nation. Without a healthy nation, there will be no wealth. Without a healthy nation, there will be no development. Without a healthy nation, there will be no peace, no progress. So supporting these materials will go a long way in achieving the national goals when it comes to health and health strengthening. We will work with the Ministry of Health to ensure that these materials goes to the hospitals or facilities that really are in need of help.
The donated items includes 13 hospital bedside cabinets, 7 drill stands, 92 loose crutches, 65 sanitary pads, amongst others. BARROW for GRTS News.
We'll take a break now. Sport news is up next. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's take a look at sport news now, because squeezed into wetsuits for a snorkeling lesson with South Africa's first black diving coach, turning the tide on decades of apartheid history in which water sports were reserved for wealthy whites. We have more in the CGTN report.
Glovo fell in love with the ocean while on holiday in Bali in 2016. She acquired a scuba diving certificate the following year. In 2020, she received an instructor certificate in free diving with no equipment. Today, 33-year-old Glovo is South Africa's first black diving coach. She trains youth from Cape Town's Langa Township how to snorkel. This is part of her Black Mermaid Foundation initiative, which aims at introducing the ocean to the country's black youth.
In becoming a freediving instructor, I knew for the first time ever that this passion needed expansion. And the water space has not always been diverse, and I wanted to create a space where diverse representation in the ocean space is possible.
Established in 2020, Black Mermaid Foundation currently pays for the lessons. The initiative is, however, looking for funders to ensure its longevity. Before South Africa ended white minority rule in 1994, apartheid laws legalized racial segregation in all facets of life. Water sports were reserved for the white population. Today, these youth are acquiring new skills, thanks to Ndlovu.
Society teaches us to swim and to know everything in the sea. And we saw octopus, fish, shark.
I learned that don't be scared, learn to be brave.
Actively taking these young kids, into the oceans, exposing them and giving them that experiential component helps them to, further down the line, actually understand the theoretical concepts that we teach them at university or at secondary school level. So it is a fantastic intervention that she has created and that she is promoting, and I wish we could have more of those.
A sacrifice Ndlovu made after giving up her consultancy business of 5 years and employment in the corporate services sector.
I want everyone to be able to experience this as early as possible and recognize that the ocean is not a place that we need to fear, but a place that we could come at and enjoy and revisit the stories that we grow up with that keep us away from these oceans as well. And my joy is the moment when one of the kids says, "Oh look, it's a fish," or "Oh look, it's a starfish," because it means that they have transcended the fear space to actually look beneath the surface.
An opportunity for Ndlovu to impart skills she hopes young people will live to cherish. Joy Kiruki Juma, CGTN.
From South Africa there to the United States, because the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken tries to beat back criticism of the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan on Monday at a contentious congressional hearing where at least 2 Republicans called on him to resign. Well, 2 Republicans after that, there's no evidence that staying longer would have made the Afghan security forces or Afghanistan government any more resilient or self-sustainable, Blinken said. You have details in this report.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken appearing in front of lawmakers for the first time since that withdrawal from Afghanistan. And it was Republicans who were leading the questioning, combative questioning over what went wrong.
Did state at any point in the evacuation process block American citizens from leaving Afghanistan?
No, we did not.
None. Your testimony before Congress is that state didn't block any American citizens leaving Afghanistan.
To the contrary, my officers, men and women, ran into the building from around the world to help Americans get out.
It's a simple yes or no. I heard you do it with Mr. Connolly. You can do it with me. Yes or no? I just want to clarify. You didn't block anybody. State didn't block any American citizens.
No. Okay. They were there to help Americans get out.
And there are countless questions to answer. For example, why the US didn't maintain Bagram Airfield, a military airfield, to assist with that evacuation. And perhaps more pertinently, at least for Republicans, how many US citizens and green card holders are left behind in Afghanistan. Blinken's best estimate of that is some 100 or so, but as he pointed out, the US doesn't know how many American citizens there are in any one country at any one time. The US simply doesn't keep tabs on its citizens in that way. If Republicans are keen to pin the blame on Democrats and the Biden administration, then Democrats are keen to do the same thing for Republicans. As one lawmaker put it, we inherited a deadline, not a plan, referring to former US President Donald Trump's plan and deadline to withdraw US forces. Democrat lawmakers complaining that Republicans essentially didn't have a plan for this. But Democrat lawmakers are also frustrated as well with their own administration. One Democrat lawmaker tweeting before this hearing, the real question is, why did we stay in Afghanistan for another 10 years after we knew that there was going to be no way we could build an Afghan military, an Afghan government that was capable of holding the country against the Taliban once we left? But perhaps the more pressing question for lawmakers on both sides of the aisle is, what kind of relationship does the US want with the Taliban now back in government in Afghanistan? The Taliban now assisting with commercial flights departing the country, some of them containing US citizens. Owen Fairclough, CGTN, Washington.
That wraps up this edition of the News September. Before we go, a quick recap of our top stories once again. President Barrow receives a rousing welcome in the North Bank region as he begins a 17-day tour across the country. The Ministry of Health received 20 ambulances meant to enhance healthcare service delivery across the country. The Independent Electoral Commission says it has registered 18 political parties with 4 others undergoing registration process. In sports, turning the tide on decades of apartheid history, South Africa's first black diving coach trained youth in a snorkeling lesson reserved for wealthy whites. And elsewhere, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken tried to beat back criticism over the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan at a contentious congressional hearing. That was all in this edition of the News at 10 with me, Fatma Sise, and we have the entire news team. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Do stay safe.
Excellency Mbala Kumajan Sanjan Salawolo Minyinte ko Keriki ko Jiko la suwo kono. Your Excellency dinako bunya moy Keriki ko nga by election